Hi, we're Britt and Mike, and this is Leah. We're converting our 2021 Ford Transit van into a home on wheels. Last week, Mike got a ton of wiring done for our lights and outlets. In this week's video, we're installing a remote fill kit for our 12.2 gallon propane tank. Okay, I think that's good. Yeah, I'm gonna... Hi everyone!
Hey guys!
Welcome back to our van build series.
Today we're going to install the remote fill for the propane tank. So for those who aren't familiar with a remote fill kit, basically the idea is that if you have an undermount propane tank on your vehicle, your van, your RV or whatever, most places aren't going to crawl underneath your vehicle to fill your propane tank. So you need to be able to fill it from the side or the rear of the vehicle somewhere. That's where these kits come in handy. You can remove the fill from underneath the van to the side of the van where they're more accessible, and you can get your tanks filled that way. I plan on putting ours on the back of the van on the driver's side. I don't want to put it on the passenger side of the van because we do have the exhaust over there, and I just don't want to run these rubber hoses anywhere near the exhaust. So driver's side seems like the best place, and the rear of the van, right under the bumper, there's a nice metal lip that I can mount the bracket to for our van, so I think that's probably the best spot to put it. Okay, so this is everything that we got in the kit that we ordered from Nash Fuel on eBay. The kit was $199 and some change, and comes with everything that you need to fill up or to do your remote fill system. So it comes with two different hoses, both at a 6-foot length. The wider diameter one is for the fill valve, and the smaller diameter one is for the bleeder. Nothing is attached or assembled. When you get it, you have to kind of figure out how everything hooks up. You get these little compression valves that go on either end of your hose. You have to get the hose down inside this piece first, which I've heard can be very difficult, but you get the hose all the way down inside there, and then once it's inside there, you thread this on and it compresses the hose inside and gives you a nice airtight seal so the gas can't escape. These pieces here are for the back of the bleeder valve and to connect to the tank for the bleeder valve. So one side is a compression fitting, one side is a male fitting. Compression fitting just fits on like so. You don't need any pipe tape or anything for the compression fittings, but you do for the standard male fittings. So the system comes with this remote fill valve that goes on the front of this bracket, as well as a bleeder valve that goes on the front of the bracket. On the back side, you've got another one of these connectors so that it'll connect the same way as it does on the tank side. And then you have one of these elbow connectors for the fill valve. They also send you these if you want to have your hoses come off sideways off your tank or off the back of your bracket here. You can do that as well. They're not really necessary, they're just kind of extra if you need them. Yeah, that's pretty much everything. I like the little bracket that it comes with. There were different styles available. A lot of them had like a box style, which you would most likely want to do some kind of cutout somewhere to mount a little box to your vehicle. But this one is an undermount, so it can literally mount to the bottom of the van, and yeah, I think it'd be perfect.
I am very aware that the visor makes me look like a racket club mom, but it is going to be a very hot summer. Wanted to put my hair up in a high pony, which personally I think is cuter, and the top of my head can breathe. I love a baseball cap, but sometimes you want to wear a high pony. So we're bringing back visors this summer.
The first thing I got to figure out is how long do I need these hoses to be. So I'm going to measure out from the tank to the back of the van where I plan on mounting it, and get an approximate length for how long these need to be. Alright, so after a little eyeballing, it looks like these hoses are already exactly the right length. I don't want to cut anything off of them and have it not be long enough. So if there's any excess, we'll just zip tie it up and put it up out of the way. So I'm just cleaning up the edges of these because they are cut pretty poorly. I'm assuming with a box knife or something. These cable cutters that I got for our heavy duty wire for our electrical system work perfect. Just lopped it right off. So the next step after you cut your hoses to length is to get these fittings onto your hoses. There's a couple ways you can do it. The first way is to literally sit here and shove it on. You have to like shove and twist and shove and twist and keep working at it and keep working at it until you can get it on right on there all the way. And it's got to go all the way basically to the inside of that little lip there on the inside. You don't want to go any further because then you'll have a hard time getting your other compression the rest of your compression fitting in. But yeah, you just need to get this thing on all the way. Luckily for me, I did a little YouTubing, a little research on this, and I found a couple that found a hack for that. So this is a 13/16 deep socket on my driver here. They did say that it was easier if you use a clamp, but it's a whole lot easier on your hands than trying to sit here and push these things on. So it's hard to see, but this hose will come right up to this lip on the inside here. So then these pieces will thread on like so. And what I'll probably do is put this part in the clamp and then do my best to force this guy in here, thread it in. And that'll expand the rubber on both sides of this, I'm not sure what this is called here, this little tube or whatever. And then it'll just compress around it and make an airtight fitting. Okay, so what I had success putting that on with was a 3/4 inch crescent wrench, and I used a block of wood. I was just pushing down on it rather than put my hand on the metal and push as hard as I could where it's really tough on one point of my hand. I put a little piece of wood on there, put the bit over, and just went around in circles and just kept going until it threaded in. All in all, I think that took me, what, like 5 minutes?
Yeah,
less?
a couple minutes.
One fitting on, 3 more to go. So I didn't use the block to push down on it this time. Turns out I didn't need it. I thought that I would to get it through the rubber, but it looks like the threading on the metal is enough to force it in once you get it on there good enough. I mentioned that there was 2 different sizes for the hoses, so there's actually 2 different sizes for the compression fittings as well. For one I used 13/16, but for the other I used a 24 millimeter. I'm not sure what the closest in inches is that fits. This is just the one that I had that fits, so those are the ones that I used. Okay, so I went ahead and pre-mounted all these fittings onto the bracket here before I mount the bracket to the van. I figured it'll just make it a lot easier. These are all on as tight as I can get them, and all the ones where like a non-compression fitting, like this end is compression fitting, right? All the non-compression fittings where they just screw in like so, I've had to use some tape, some yellow thread sealant. You just wrap around a couple times before you tighten everything down, and that should make it airtight so that we don't have any leaks in our gas lines.
Leah is like, just, you can barely see her eyeball like sticking out from behind the propane tank.
So I am working on attaching the valves that go to the tank. One of them, the fill valve, actually just hand tightens on. It has a little rubber gasket inside, so you don't have to use a wrench or anything. You just tighten it on as tight as it'll go, and that rubber gasket will keep it from leaking. So that one's in place. The other one I have to do is the attachment for our bleeder valve, which is just one of these male to compression valves here. But in order to install it, I have to take out the bleeder valve that's already installed here. So that's what I'm doing now. This is the valve that I tightened on by hand. As you can see, it's literally tight as it's gonna get. And this right here is the bleeder valve. The one that came on our tank is 9/16. So I'm gonna take that off and then put on this guy, which the range attachment for this is, I want to say 5/8.
He beat me. While Mike is working on that, Leah and I are working on compiling every receipt from every Lowe's or Home Depot purchase that he has made in the last 7 months into a giant spreadsheet. I don't know if this is true, but I believe when we go to get insurance on the van as an RV, like right now we just have normal car insurance on it, but when you insure it as an RV, it's for the value of everything inside the van as well. And obviously we're putting a ton of money into the build, so we want that to be covered as well. So every little screw, every bag of zip ties, whatever we used to build the van is in this spreadsheet. And so I'm hoping that it will really come in handy later. And even if the insurance company doesn't require us to have that spreadsheet, I believe they do ask us what the value is, so then we would actually have that value. And either way, I think it would be good to know for ourselves like how much we spent on the build, and we're hoping to be able to turn it into a resource for, you know, other people that are building a van, so that we have a list right there of like every single part, not just the parts that are linked in our Amazon account under our YouTube video.
Okay, so now that we have the fittings on the tank, it's time to attach our hoses and run them from the tank to where the bracket is going to install. Now I just got to zip tie this thing up, these cables, so they stay up close to the bottom of the van, keep them from getting damaged, and then connect the bracket to the rear end with all of the attachments already on it, and connect my compression fittings to that. We'll be good to go.
Imagine I drop this camera on my face. We do have a past video showing us actually installing this propane tank, and it is the 12.2 pound Flame King, and we will put a link in the description for it. Why do I think it's pounds? It's a 12.2 gallon propane tank.
Okay, so I got it mounted with some self-tapping screws. The screws seem a little small for this application, so I might upgrade them later on, but I think for now they'll be fine. Seems like a pretty tight hold. The flexing is just the metal, because it's attached to a thin piece of metal in the like underneath the bumper. Okay, so our propane tank is mounted right here behind the rear differential. Right here are the connections that we just made. Again, be sure to use thread sealant on any male ends that you have that are not compression fittings. This piece just screws on by hand. These pieces, since they are compression fittings, you don't have to like over tighten them. Just get them as tight as you can within reason. And then the way that these are running on mine are coming straight from the fittings, going up over the top of the tank. I've got them zip tied here, and they come out on the other side of the tank, are zip tied once again here, and then over here as well. And then as you come back to the back of the van, I've got a zip tie on each one going to either side of this little post here, all the way to our remote fill. I think that looks pretty nice. Earlier I talked about thread sealant and how important it is to use on all your male fittings. Just be sure that you use the yellow thread tape, not the white one. White thread tape is suitable for normal plumbing, but not suitable for gas. This is what you want. They actually sent some white tape with the kit, so I guess you could use it if you wanted to, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Alright, here is the finished look when the van is back on the ground.
It's pretty low profile except the big bright yellow cap. All right, so with that, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap the vlog up here.
Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next week.
Bye guys.